Welcome back, everybody, to a Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would like to introduce Steve Gamlin. Now in his 18th year as the motivational Firewood guy, Steve Gamlin shares his back-to-basics blend of positivity and humor with corporate and conference audiences around the country. Drawing from a decade in the radio industry, 7 years of stand-up comedy, and a 30-plus year personal development journey, Steve teaches his clients to see their, in quotes, their desired outcome, understand their why, then build action plans to achieve them, utilizing his vision board mastery program as well as live and virtual events. Welcome to a Little Less Fear podcast.
Thank you, Lino. Very happy to be here.
I love your voice. I can tell you did radio because of your incredible voice. And before we get into that, I'd like to know about your journey. What brought you to where you currently are at today?
Well, today I'm on the verge of turning 55, and it all started when I was about 11 years old. Now I got a few birthday candles on you. I know this, Lino. When I was 11 years old, there was a TV show, a comedy called WKRP in Cincinnati, and it took place at a fictional radio station. And I saw this DJ named Dr. Johnny Fever, who I thought was the coolest human being on earth. He wore jeans, black t-shirts, sunglasses indoors, which was just so badass.
Yeah.
And he played music records in a studio for a living. And at 11 years old, I wanted to do that. I also wanted to be a stand-up comedian because Steve Martin was huge at the time. And thanks to Mom, who gave me a love of reading and writing, I wanted to write my own books. And I had a teacher in the 5th grade named Mrs. Farron, who was still the greatest teacher I ever had. If I finished my work early, she would encourage me to go mentor and coach the other students and help them out. So I got this love of helping others from her.
How beautiful.
Age 24, got into radio because a friend of mine saw me at a very low point in my life and asked, why didn't you ever follow your dream of being on the radio? So out of excuses and out of money, I borrowed $4,000 from my grandfather, went to broadcast school in the summer of 92, got an internship at a radio station that we'd grown up listening to, drove to my friend's house, shared the good news. And of course, I got the I told you so speech. And 3 weeks later, that friend passed away.
Wow.
So I enjoyed a 10-year radio career. And at the end of it, when I was hanging it all up, I remembered that my friend had believed in me when I didn't. And I followed that dream. And I blew up my radio career and first marriage and any shred of financial stability at age 35, sat in the ashes a couple of years, then became a speaker and a stand-up comedian. In going back to what my friend did for me as a speaker, my goal is to help other people believe in themselves when they don't, and to be that friend, even if they're in the front row or way in the shadows of a big conference room.
Wow,
that's the mission, and that's what still keeps me going today at 55. And I've done all 4 things that I wanted to do when I was 11.
Oh my goodness. All because your buddy believed in you. That's really amazing. Sounds pretty angelic, like an angelic force that he was in your life.
Yeah, I've had a lot of angels, and I hope I've been an angel for some people as well.
Oh, I can feel your angelic presence, Steve. Without a doubt, you are. Without a doubt, you are, for sure.
Thank you.
So tell us about comedy. How did that come to be?
Comedy was something I'd wanted to do for a long, long time. I mean, I always loved being the life of the party, the center of attention in social gatherings with friends. I was not, because of an embarrassing thing in the 7th grade spelling bee, I stopped really participating in class. So I lost all my confidence because I was at a new school where all my friends had gone elsewhere. And I wanted to be funny, but I had no confidence. So I kept just with tight groups of friends, I could be funny, but I always dreamt of being up on stage doing stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't happen until I was about 37 or so, because at a very low point in my life in August 2003, I'd blown up radio. My first marriage ended in divorce, and I was beyond broke by tens of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And I had $3 left in my pocket on a Friday afternoon on a very humid day. And I got a big bucket of golf balls. And I went to the farthest tee box at the driving range, which was under these giant steel towered power lines.
Wow.
And a thunderstorm came through and everybody but me ran from the storm. And instead of running, I just held up the club and said, go ahead. I dare you.
Wow.
So I just took out my frustrations on golf balls. And when I was done, I hit my bucket and the buckets of two guys who'd run from the storm. I'm like, cowards, free golf balls.
Wow.
And I couldn't even lift my arms anymore. And I got to my car and the rain stopped and the sun came out. And I just started laughing because, you know, God, I was raised Catholic, but I'm not part of any church or organized religion.
Mhm.
But me and God, we have great conversations and we're tight. We're good. And I looked up and I just thought that was the funniest thing. I'm like, well played. And the next day, I was talking with a life coach that I just started working with. And he said, how was your week? And I said, put down your pen and listen to this. And I just, as funny as I could make it, I talked about hitting golf balls in a thunderstorm under power lines, barefoot in the wet grass, daring the lightning to hit me. And when he stopped laughing, which is something a life coach shouldn't do when your life sucks, is laugh. And he said, I got two questions. Are you this open and honest about your life with everybody? And I said, yeah, usually pretty self-deprecating, but yeah. Have you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or stand-up comedian? I think you'd be great at both. And I said, I've wanted to do both since I was a kid. I haven't had the guts or the knowledge of how to pursue it. On his desk, you want to talk about divine intervention and just being aware.
Yeah.
Was in his junk mail pile was a brochure from a local community college that had an intro to stand-up comedy class that was starting 2 weeks later.
What? Oh
Yeah.
my
He goes,
goodness.
will you go? I'm like, and this is how long ago it was. I go, yeah, fax that over to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
show my age. And then he said, have you ever heard of Toastmasters? And I said, well, kind of. They teach you how to speak or whatever. He says, yeah. He goes, you got it. Just go dial in your tools. He goes, there's a chapter that meets 2 towns away from you. And I went and I stayed there for 8 years. Did stand up
Wow.
for 7.
Wow. That's incredible, Steve.
All these
Geez, you're right. All these
angels.
little angels are all around
Yeah.
you, guiding you.
Yeah. In the life coach and my friend both had
Yeah.
the same first name. They were both named Daniel.
What?
Yeah. 2 angels named
Wow.
Dan.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Hey,
Yeah.
so before you did comedy, you were doing radio. And before we started recording this podcast, you were telling me a story about how you actually didn't pick up a mic actually to be on the radio because you were insecure about your voice. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I had this great fear of not having a good voice and not having any self-confidence. So what I wound up going into radio doing was being a copywriter and also became a morning show producer, but an off-air producer. And I was a comedy writer for the show. And that's what I wanted to be, was a morning show producer. And I always wished I would have the confidence to get on the microphone. And at the first radio station group, I was a comedy writer and I ran the control board. At the second group, I was a full-time rock morning show producer in my element, won all kinds of awards for comedy and all that. My very first day, I was ready to be introduced by the host. His name was Baxter, and I got my microphone button up and I'm all set. And he's behind me at his little table and he goes, and we have a brand new producer today, and his name is Silent Steve. And I
Oh,
turned around and he gives me the shh sign. So the microphone comes down, and I was an off-air producer there for 3 years.
wow.
And at the final group of stations, now the reason I kept changing jobs, the radio stations would get sold and we'd all get fired,
Oh, geez.
which is not good for your
Right.
confidence. So at the final
Right.
group, we had a morning guy quit, and we had taken this classic rock station off of satellite and made it live, which is the opposite of the industry. Our
Yeah.
morning guy quit, and the general manager came down and he goes, hey, unless we find somebody really quick, the owner wants to just put it back on satellite, and all this work we've done is just going to go in the dumpster. And I raised my hand. I go, Jack, come on, man. I've been in radio 8 years. Come on, I can do this. He goes, oh, right. And in parentheses in my head, I'm saying, never been on the microphone. So what followed was about the worst 4.5 days of me trying to sound like a DJ. Not sounding like this at all. I mean, I was trying to sound a little higher pitch, a little faster. Nothing worked. And on the last morning at 5 minutes of 7, I just said, hey, everybody, Steve here, New Hampshire's Classic Rock, Big 101.5. I may suck as a DJ, but if you tolerate me reading the weather for the next 42 seconds, I'll play you a kick-ass rock song. And I did it, and I read the weather, and I turned off the mic, and I hit the song, and I just said, oh my gosh, that's the end of that. And the knock on the door. It's the boss. He sticks his head in, huge smile. He goes, brother, that was the funniest thing you said all week. Dude, just be yourself. Stop trying to sound like other stuff.
Yeah,
Just be yourself. And here we are 20 plus years later. That moment changed my life
that's
forever. And
incredible.
everything I've done since, I'm just me.
Yes, and then that's why I feel you so positively and so presently. That's amazing, Steve. That's really wild to think that you were doing radio for so long, but yet you were still afraid of the mic, and it really just took for you to get in there and just let go and be.
Yeah. I just gave up and said, well, I'll just be me for a minute. We'll give this a shot.
Sure,
And it was the one that worked. So
that's
here we are.
amazing. And you've used all of these experiences that you've had to build yourself to where you are today to now help others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us
It's an
about
amazing
your
gift.
personal development. I'm sorry, you don't have a personal development course, correct? Is that how
I
do you
do,
help?
matter of
Oh, you
fact.
do.
Yes.
Okay. So you've
Yeah.
got a personal development course that you help and you help your clients see in quotes. What do you mean by see in quotes?
Usually using visualization and vision boards. And it's something in the personal development world that a lot of people go, oh, that's a cute little arts and crafts project. Or they say, oh, I went to a vision board party once. And I've got a t-shirt
Yeah.
line. It's hanging on the wall over there. On the back, it says, friends don't let friends attend vision board parties,
Why is that?
because they don't go deep enough. We see, especially early in each year, we see people say, hey, we're having a vision board party. We're going to have wine, cheese, crackers, scissors, glue sticks, glitter, magazines,
Yeah.
poster boards.
Yeah.
you know, Wine and scissors, first off, not a good combination. The reason I do what I do the way I do it is because I think they are a much maligned personal development tool. I think they're an amazing personal development tool.
Mhm.
If you take the time to figure out what you really want, what resonates with you,
Okay.
what you have a deep emotional connection to, what is really
Oh,
an
yeah.
extension of yourself from where you are now, say even 1 year in the future. And what a lot of people also do is this time of year, they go, oh, yeah, I want a Lamborghini, a mansion, a yacht, a
Right.
private jet, a helicopter. I want a big honking piece of jewelry. I want a bank vault full of gold bars and cash.
Yeah.
It's all material stuff.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so
True.
as I was putting my life back together, and Coach Dan, same guy who nudged me into this
Yeah.
journey with a question, he said, there's this thing called The Secret, which had just come out in the early 2000s. And I
Yeah.
got the
Remember.
DVD version of it.
Hmm.
And some of it to me was very fluffy and very woo-woo, which I'm not like that at all. I call myself blue collar woo. Like I can speak of things, but then explain them in a way that regular people can understand them because
Hmm.
I'm a regular guy.
Yeah.
And there was this 3 minutes out of 98 minutes, whereas a guy named John Assaraf talked about this thing called vision boards. And I was so fascinated
Yeah.
that I started to research. I don't do a lot of research on things. I just do them, figure out what doesn't work and what works in advance.
Hmm.
Over the course of about 5 years, I learned through trial and error what worked for me. And I
Hmm.
took a lot of notes. And then people started to see me stack up my successes in my personal and business life. Hey, Steve, can you teach me that? Yeah. I did some open to the public events, and then I started working inside of companies and with individuals were saying, Steve, we can't afford, I'm just me. Why don't you create a way to teach regular individual people?
I like that.
So I created the Vision Board Mastery Program. I spent almost 3 years, more than 200 hours here in my recording studio to create a program that's only 74 minutes and 52 seconds long.
Wow, that's incredible. Steve, I know that there's some people that find that the secret is a little controversial because there's some stuff that doesn't really, I guess, work out for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think you've seen some of those discrepancies yourself.
Mhm.
What have you seen that doesn't work with the secret? And why doesn't it
Yeah.
work?
In the DVD version, and one thing
Yeah.
I wish they had left on the cutting room floor was this genie in a magic lamp that kept popping up saying, your wish is my command. Your wish is my command. And there are too many people saying, I just think things and they happen.
Mhm.
That's part of it. I mean, they're not wrong, but what they're missing is so many steps in between. And that's why people say, they close their eyes and they're sitting on their couch and there's a thing on TV saying, oh, Powerball is up to $800 million. And they're
Yeah.
sitting there with their eyes closed. What are you doing? I'm manifesting. What? I'm manifesting the $800 million.
Mhm.
Did you buy a ticket? No, I'm manifesting it. Well, you're not going to win if you don't get up and take some action.
Sure.
That's a very simple way of explaining it. But what a lot of the people got out of the secret was just wish for it and it'll happen.
Right.
I had somebody today reach out to me in my Vision Board Mastery Facebook community. Hey, my goal is to manifest, and it was in whatever country he's from, the equivalent of millions of dollars. I want to manifest this. How do I do it? I said, are you wishing for it? Or are you willing to put in the work to get it? Why do you want it? What's it going to do for your life? What skills do you have? How can you trade your time and influence for money? And I just tried to lay out a very nice action plan, but also to ask, why do you want this money? Do you want to be charitable? Do you want to buy a Lamborghini? What do you want it for?
Yeah.
It's not just wish and receive. And too many people think that. And I think it's a sad trap. There are things I really dislike about my own industry, which is part of why I'm a speaker.
Yeah.
I got tired of people going, rah, 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 buy my stuff.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's an incredible question here that I seen that's on your page. It says, what is the greatest gift you can give to your future self?
I've been keeping a gratitude journal for more than 11 years.
Whoa.
And
And you
what I
write in this
do,
every day?
yeah, what I do,
Wow.
and I keep it simple because some people say, I don't have time for all that. Here's how I do it. I write down the date. I write the words good stuff, and I write 1, 2, 3. And in less than a line each, I will describe. I usually do this first thing in the morning. I'll describe my 3 favorite moments from the previous day. In less than a line each, as emotionally connected or descriptive or funny or whatever as I can. And I've just said right along, the greatest gift you can give to your future self is to acknowledge something amazing that happened today.
I love that.
I mean, look at the past almost 3 years, the whole pandemic era.
Right.
And people said, oh, 2020, dumpster fire. 2021, dumpster fire part 2. And, 2022, it's chapter 3 in 3D. In 2021,
3D.
in 3D, I wrote down in 2021, 957 moments of good things that were happening in my life.
That's amazing. Wow.
And I just counted out for 2022. I missed a couple days. I wrote 846.
That's amazing.
So, and somebody challenged me on it the other day, like, oh, what does that mean? I said, okay. If somebody came up to you between the week of Christmas and New Year's, could you tell them 846 good things that happened to you this year? No, I can. All I got to do is open it up. And somebody challenged me once, not challenged in a bad way, but a radio show that I was on said, well, how does that work as far as the gift to your future self? And I had done a video earlier in the day. I had one of my old gratitude journals on my desk.
Yeah.
And I opened it up and I started laughing. And the host said, okay, what is it and what's the story? I said, this was, at the time, it was 6.5 years ago. My dad and I had gone and rescued his plow truck, which here in New Hampshire, you can have a plow truck. You don't have to get it registered or licensed or even legal, but you can't drive it on the road beyond 6 miles from your house. Well, we brought it about 11 miles to get it repaired. So we had to sneak it home in the dark.
Oh, man.
And I was in that truck and my father was right behind me. So no cop could come up on the rear bumper and see the license plate and that it had not been inspected in 3 years. We get to a rotary and sure enough, at the next on-ramp, there's a police car. Now, I can't let him see this vehicle. So I lean my arm out. I go, go ahead, sir. And he goes, hey, thank you, buddy. And I'm laughing. So that journal entry said, got Nellie home safe, avoided the cop. That's all I need. And it's still one of my greatest memories. We lost my dad about 4.5 years ago, but we laughed about that for the longest time. He goes, you remember when the cop was going to get you and you just let him go and he thought you were being nice? Yes, sir. Moments like that. If you write them down each day and you just look back, oh my gosh, it's like a flip book of just the positive stuff going on in your life. Now, it doesn't mean I don't have bad days. It doesn't mean bad things don't happen to me. They do.
Sure, of course. Right.
But that keeps me going. I just put as many plus signs in my head every day as I can.
I love that, Steve. You know what? I had a gratitude journal that I didn't follow it the way you just described it, and I'm gonna definitely take your advice in the way that you're doing it. I'm gonna start that today. But the
Awesome.
gratitude journal I kept was for about a year, and it was listing 5 things I was grateful for every day. And I found myself repeating things. So, and for like a year, and I was like, why am I repeating the same stuff? It just, it started to feel inauthentic. So I stopped doing the gratitude journal. But now I love the way that you described it. What are 3 good things that happened that day, even if they're just situational, like you just described right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that. That's amazing. And I can imagine that you just feel blessed at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And the weirder, the better, like the whole plow truck thing. I mean, sometimes I'll be driving somewhere and see something that'll just crack me up. And I'll tell myself, I'll make a mental note. Oh, make sure you save this, for tomorrow morning's gratitude journal. I mean, just know in advance, you're going to be in tomorrow's 3 moments. And
Right.
something that happened earlier today, I had to stop at the grocery store. I was getting some medication. My wife's got a really nasty head cold, and she finally found a store that had meds. They're all sold out. And I went to the store and I grabbed a couple items and I walked through the parking lot and I saw this older woman, retiree, in the handicapped area, and she had a big carpet cleaning machine.
Uh-huh.
And I'm walking past and I'll reach out from a safe distance. Excuse me, would you like some help putting that in your car? And she turned around and she goes, that would be great.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
and she's like, oh my gosh, well, like, where did you come from? I'm like, the store. And she goes, they told me if I fold the handle down, it can go this way. And I said, okay. And I asked her, I said, do you have somebody at home that can hopefully help you out with this? She goes, no. I said, all right, I'm going to put it in your car. So all you have to do is grab it right here, pull it out, and it will stand back up, and just put up the handle and you're all set. Oh my gosh, there's your act of kindness for the day. And I just said, you're very welcome. But see, my family and I have this little giving mission called Beach Bum Philanthropy, and we do as many as we can throughout the day. It got to be one of them.
What do you mean? What is this Beach Bum Philanthropy? What is that about?
Let's see, in December, it was 10 years ago, we started this intentional acts of kindness
Whoa,
mission.
wow.
And for years, I called it my little hippie giving mission, because
I love
I
it.
just wanted to be in the right place at the right time to commit acts of kindness. Real simple stuff.
I love it.
2 years ago, we made it an official 501c3 because people said, we want to
Wow.
donate to you. And I said, we can't ask for donations. We're not a 501c3.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody mailed me the forms, and my sister, who's a
Oh,
CPA,
wow.
very smart, she did them. And now we have a 501c3, all because we wanted to just be nicer. Remember to be nicer in everyday life.
Steve, that's amazing. You're the angel.
I've got a bunch of them, and I'm happy to be an angel, but I try to stay anonymous with as much of the stuff as I can, because I feel like I'm getting away with something, which is really cool. It's like leaving a flaming bag of kindness on somebody's porch instead of, dog poop.
Yeah.
But running away and not getting caught. We try to do as much of that as we can.
Steve, tell us more about utilizing your vision board mastery program. How is your vision board different than other vision boards? I know you mentioned that there's a lot of in-between stuff where, like, the secret, for instance, didn't really fill in. So how is yours different from that?
What I work really hard to do is understand, or help people to understand, that it is a complete life. And so many people go, oh, work-life balance. Oh my gosh, that's only 2 things. The way I teach it, and if you Google Life Wheel personal development,
Oh, okay.
you'll see very similar to the one I use. I've kind of tweaked it and
Yeah.
adjusted it for my purposes, the way I teach. It's a wheel with 8 spokes. It's your
Okay.
physical health, your emotional well-being,
Okay.
your relationships, your core values and ethics that guide you, your faith and spirituality, if that's a big part of your life and how that guides you,
Yeah.
your connection to people in a real way, which has been suffering a lot the last couple of years. People feel disconnected, lonely,
Yeah,
isolated,
absolutely.
anxious,
Totally.
depressed.
Yeah.
And then your career, and then your money. So all of these things are working together 24/7. So my thought is, wouldn't it be a great idea to actually have some say in the matter of where your life is going in every single one of these? And when people start to say, can I just do one at a time on the board, because that's very overwhelming? That's when I remind them, look, here's how it works. If you take care of your physical health, you eat better, you get enough sleep, you don't overconsume things that are bad for you, you have more energy. And you also, if you sleep well at night, get enough sleep, you have more energy. When you have more energy, you can work more. When you work more, you can potentially make more money. When you make more money, you can buy time and freedom and devote time to your relationships. If
Yeah.
you do it in such a way that you're on a good path, you never have to look over your shoulder if your core values and ethics and your faith are strong. You want to connect with people because you're more happy and joyful and you want to expand everything. They're already all working together and they lean on each other and they're all bricks in the same foundation. So my take is stop just saying this work life. Stop slapping pictures of material things.
Yeah.
Set a goal for the emotions you want to feel on a daily basis in the new year. That's a great one. And
Ooh, I
Ed
love that.
Milet, who's a guy I just
Love that.
absolutely love in the speaking world. Ed Milet has a podcast. This morning, he put out a clip talking about setting goals of the emotions that you want to feel on a daily basis. And I thought, gosh,
Wow.
if Ed Milet's saying it and I'm saying it, it's got to
Yeah,
be
right.
right. It's got to be right.
Have you done this yourself?
Oh, I have. Oh yeah, I've got words and pictures that are reflected in my vision boards. All the ones I built, I recently found 5 of my old ones at my old recording studio. That 5 that survived, and I laid them all out. I said, "Oh my gosh, what a journey this has been!" And my early boards were just utter failures because it was all really kind of material things because I hadn't perfected it yet.
Right.
But then I see the more recent boards, and I go, "Oh my gosh, what a picture of the best version of my life." I mean, top to bottom, all around, every spoke, pictures, words, hashtags, quotes, photographs that I've taken that inspire me. And I lay them out in such a way that it tells a story. And I encourage people to do this as well, all my clients. Whatever's most important to you in this world, make that the center, and how everything else expands outward from that and supports it to create the best version of yourself. And it's just different from the arts and crafts, glitter, glue stick, pictures of material things
Right.
that so many people, they do what I call set it and forget it. It's like a roasted chicken commercial on a Saturday morning, set it and forget it, so you don't have to
Yeah.
think about it. My clients, they have to look at it every day
Mhm.
and pick one picture and take one step that day toward one picture. You want to take the overwhelm out of people's lives, get systematic like that. And all of a sudden they start to say, "Hey, Steve, this person reached out to me. They're on my vision board. All right, what are you going to do?" "Well, I'm going to do this and this and this." And all of a sudden, this whole overwhelming vision starts to actually happen. And I sit back and I just go, yep, yep, right on. And I sit in here because I coach virtually, most of them, jumping up and down. I laugh, I cry with my clients. We get down in the mud together, and I love this. There is no better mission for me to be on than the kindness mission and the coaching and the speaking and the teaching. I just love this.
I love it too, Steve. You're inspiring me. You're making me think right now. So where do
Awesome.
people get, like, let's say they're creating their vision board, where do they get their stuff? Do they go online? Do they print stuff out? Do they go on old magazines and cut things out that's the way I did at least 20 years ago. I don't know how you do it now. I mean,
Yeah. All of the above, really. I mean, I see people still cutting up magazines and they'll see things that inspire them. If they want to travel, they get travel magazines because the pictures are just so gorgeous. But the internet is a great place for that.
mhm.
And also graphic design programs like Canva, which is free,
Yeah.
because a lot of my clients will create their own little mantras and hashtags, and
Oh, wow.
they'll go and put them in their favorite colors, and they'll make them bright and vivid, and then they'll print them out and cut them out. And it's also a great question that you asked, because some people ask, can it be a virtual vision board like digital, or should it
Yeah,
be
I was just gonna
physical?
ask you that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I prefer the physical because I'm a kinesthetic learner and I love to feel the materials in my hands as I'm moving them around, which
It's
is,
almost like you're physically creating your life as well, like orchestrating it.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I love being part of the machine that puts it together, because what you're also doing when you do repetitive physical motion
Mm.
is you're creating a neural pathway, and you're
Yeah,
creating an actual connection to the board.
true, true.
And you
You're
can get them
using more
from
of your senses
magazines.
that way too, especially if you
Yeah.
can feel it.
Oh, one of the first questions I ask people is, what do you goals look like, feel like, sound like, smell like?
Yeah.
Attach your senses as much as possible. I've got 2 candles in this recording studio that, depending on the mood I'm trying to create, if it's relaxation or fun and creative, I just pop off the cover, and one of them was one of my favorite scents from when I was a kid, like a cherry Tootsie Pop.
I know what that smells like.
It's Yankee Candles. It's called Cherries on Snow, and I haven't
Oh,
lit it in over a year, but I'll pop off the cover and all right, I'm a kid. You know, the playful energy
yeah, yeah,
comes
yeah,
out, the
yeah.
creativity, and it's just there's a picture of it on one of my vision boards. Is actually that candle to remind me. See, it's not just stuff you want, but it's also reminders, not what you want to have, but who you want to be and how you want to be. Those are
Who
goals
you
to
want to
have.
be and how you want to be. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. See, a lot of it's not just what you get, it's the person you become along the way. You know, and I
Right.
tried to stress to this person today that wanted all this money. What happens when a lot of people win the lottery, like big lotteries?
Yeah, they blow it.
Within 5 years, they're broke, they're addicted, they're
Totally.
divorced, they're depressed.
Yeah.
Many are suicidal. Some of them say, I wish I'd never won the money. Well, here's the thing. They didn't get acclimated to being a millionaire.
Hmm.
It got handed to them when they were still in the money mindset, maybe down here.
Hmm.
They didn't get acclimated to it. And that's one
Hmm.
of the biggest stories I share with people in lessons is treat life like an old wooden roller coaster. And I love old wooden roller coasters. You start at the bottom. Any one of your goals is the top of that first hill,
Yeah.
but you can't start halfway up and you can't skip any steps.
Hmm.
You have to get in at the bottom, surround yourself with the best people because you can't get a lot of people on those rides. So you want to make sure the good ones are there.
Right, right, right.
And you go click, 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 click. And to some people, it is boring and it's too slow and it
Hmm.
doesn't have that instant gratification that so many people crave now.
Hmm.
But the higher you climb, the better the view, and you look over your shoulder, you realize how far you've come, and your excitement level gets higher as you get closer. You're acclimated to it. You're ready for it at that point. And
Right,
then you go over the top, you enjoy a ride you couldn't stop if you tried, which is any success.
right.
And when you get to the end, if you really loved the feeling of achieving that goal, you get back in line, you set another goal. Now, what I also recommend to people, any level of success, no matter what you've achieved in your life, you are now an expert at something. Look around to people around you. If you see somebody looking at the top of the hill and they look really scared, you can ask them, hey, are you new to this whole goal setting, personal development thing? Yeah. Tell you what, I just achieved a goal that changed my life. Why don't you sit next to me? I want to tell you a little story on the way up this first hill. Let's get you up there so you don't get out and walk back down. I'm not going to let you quit on this. Let's do this. Why do you want this? Okay, good. That's good enough reason. Let's go.
Hmm. So that's what you mean by getting acclimated, is basically almost warming up, preparing yourself,
Yeah.
getting all the in-betweens to have the right setup so that you have the right mindset and have your head strong to be able to welcome and receive what's coming for you so that you don't blow it all.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll actually appreciate what it took to get there and appreciate who you became along the way. And if we just
Right.
get handed everything, I mean, look at two words, spoiled and brat. You
Right.
know,
Yeah, yeah,
look
yeah.
what happens. People get handed stuff. I went to a high school with a lot of rich kids. I was not a rich kid. We were middle class, upper middle,
Uh-huh.
but we saw 16-year-olds getting these brand new cars like BMWs for their birthday. And 2 weeks
Yeah.
later, they'd wrap it around a tree because they were stupid. And went out and got drunk, 16 years old.
Right. Sheesh.
And a week or two later, what's in their driveway? Another brand new BMW convertible. And they didn't appreciate it. I had a 1970 Chevy Nova that I spent $800 for and kind of restored. I treated that thing like it was gold
Yeah.
because my dad and I worked so hard that I was taught at a young age to appreciate everything I've got and to work very hard for it. And I do.
Steve, that's amazing. You're such an inspiring individual. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Steve, I have a question for you. If you can go back to a time when you had darker days, if there's a time machine right now and you can go back to these darker days, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
The number one thing I always say now is remember Tina. Girl in high school I had a crush on for 3 years and never asked out. Didn't have the guts to ask her out. And in after my divorce, I was putting vision boards together of my dream relationship. And in January of 2007, I said, this is the year I'm going to meet her.
Tina?
I just her, whoever she would be.
Oh, okay, I see. Hmm.
And I had pictures of couples, walking hand in hand on a beach, holding hands at a railing of a ship at sunset, cooking together in the kitchen, piggybacking his lady across the brook so she wouldn't get all wet, and they're laughing.
Yeah.
I designed the whole relationship. And in June of 2007, I wrote in my journal, I'm ready to fall in love. And June 16th of 2007, I got an email from someone named Tina.
Wow.
And I almost deleted it because I thought it was spam. And I'm glad I didn't, because the next day I opened it up, realized it was Tina from high school. We hadn't seen or spoken to each other in 21 years.
What?
And at that point, she lived 1,000 miles away.
Oh
And
my
4 weeks later, without even sending me a picture of herself, and she had no social media footprint, text, email, and phone call only. 4 weeks later, she admitted she'd had feelings about me in high school. And I was already having feelings again for her, but didn't dare say anything.
Yeah.
And she told me she loved me in a text from
Oh
1,000 miles away.
Steve,
And
you're gonna make me cry right now.
I was DJing a wedding at the time, and I'm
Wow.
texting back and forth, and I said, I feel the same way. I love you too. And this June will be our 16th anniversary.
Congratulations. You just made me teary-eyed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What an incredible, beautiful love story.
That's my
Jeez.
Oprah story. So I still tell her now, I go, babe, just know, if you ever end this relationship, you are going to demolish my speaking career. And she just laughs and she goes, behave.
Wow, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Remember Tina, and then sure enough, you planted those seeds 20 years ago. Wow. 20
Yeah,
years before that.
I wouldn't change. Somebody asked me earlier this week, what would you change about anything? I said, nothing. Because we saw in the Back to the Future movies what happens when you go back
Oh yeah.
and tinker. I wouldn't change anything, but I would just say, remember that girl, Tina. That's what I would tell
Yeah.
myself. Just remember Tina. That's all.
That's beautiful, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, where can our viewers, our watchers, our listeners find you and your incredible motivational personal development program?
Nice and easy. SteveGamlin.com, GAMLIN, and everything is there.
Steve Gamlin, everybody on the Little Less Fear podcast, a true blessing, a real deal angel right in front of me. I'm just really blessed to have had him here motivating the world and motivating everybody around him. Wow, what an uplifter. I'm just really blessed to have had you here on my podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, light, your energy, and your heart of incredible gold. Thank you so much.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Have a blessed new year, you and all your loved ones, and Tina.
Yes, and Tina. Yes. Thank you. You too.
Thank you.